Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. The website, arhq.com. Downsizing from a big home to something smaller has been considered a rite of passage for many retirees once the nest is empty, shifting into a smaller house. But with mortgage rates approaching 8%, along with low inventory and steep prices, does this move actually make sense right now? What are you telling clients?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to look at the numbers. And, when we look at the numbers of homes for sale that measure between 750 and 1,750 square feet, that's the range that downsizers tend to prefer right now. The number of houses for sale dropped 41% since 2019, and prices for these houses have increased by 50% than before they were in COVID. And that's according to the Wall Street Journal Personal Finance Retirement Downsizing Home Mortgage Rates article. The next thing is we look at downsizing is the costliest for those that still have mortgages on their current homes and are locked into the low rate. For them, a smaller home might translate into a higher monthly mortgage payment, further stretching the budget on a fixed income. If we looked at it, those who downsized the most were homeowners aged 77 to 97. So those people scaled back the most on their homes. So when we think about when to downsize and when to take advantage of the current housing market, I'll use myself as an example. So I live in Waterville, and I love the house that I have been in. I've been in my house for about 18 years now. I paid off my house in September of last year, and my home value, according to what is selling around the neighborhood, has basically doubled in price. So I could sell that house now, and in my opinion, if I did that as a younger person, 47, I still have a kid in high school, I'd need a couple of more years till I actually needed a smaller house. It's not too far off, though, because he's a junior and Anthony Wayne. I probably would not buy another house right now. I would probably rent another house for a little while until housing prices and these interest rates kind of corrected a little bit. The next thing is when we look at it, for building your retirement nest egg, there's a lot of people that have substantial equity that have been built up into their house. I had a conversation with people we'll call Dick and Sue recently, and they sold their home because their home had just built significant value in equity. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to move to a condo to have a little bit less stress fee, and they wanted to go ahead and lock in that large equity position that they had in their house and use that to help increase some of their income needs that they have for the future. I think in their situation could make a lot of sense. Now they're able to tap some of the equity that was tied up in their home. For Medicaid asset protection, it can be another idea. I met with a couple in the past. We'll call them Mary and Jim. So Mary, they had an old house. Her and Jim lived in the same house for a long time. And it was part of Toledo that the house had gone down a little bit. The housing area had gone down. Their house was ultimately going to need a lot of repairs, whether it's roof, furnaces. There was a lot of things that needed to be done ultimately to this house. And what they were able to do is able to look at a situation where Jim was most likely going to go into a nursing home. So if Jim goes into a nursing home, they're going to have to, under Medicaid, spend down a portion of their assets to be able to qualify for Medicaid. Now, under Medicaid, there's countable and non-countable assets. A home here in the state of Ohio can be one of those non-countable assets. So for Mary and Jim, what they did is they sold their old house that was going to need a lot of work. They took money out of their savings account and purchased a new house in a new subdivision that had all the bells and whistles with it. So they were in a senior living community. They had less maintenance to worry about. And the equity in the home was protected versus the money left in the bank account was not. It was a great Medicaid asset protection strategy. Or in the third scenario is more freedom. So, if you're looking to travel, maybe have more time, maybe have a second house where you want to spend some time during part of the year. Or if you want to work less around your large property, maybe you have a pond and acreage and barns and lots of things that were great when all the kids and grandkids came over, but now that they don't, maybe downsizing a little bit can be a good idea. Again, another client that we recently met with, Bob and Rita, they kind of wanted to get ahead of the game. They'd had decades and decades of stuff that had been built up. They didn't want to leave that burden on their family. And it was a lot of work for Bob and Rita to maintain the property that they had. They were able to take their time, go ahead and lock in these high prices, and they moved into an assisted living facility to make life quite a bit easier for them. So again, there's reasons why you can take advantage of the current housing market. It depends upon your situation and knowing what your game plan is and what you're going to do if you do sell now and lock in some of the big profits. But there can be great strategies before a market correction happens in the real estate market.
Now, obviously, I think anybody out there listening knows that purchasing a new home is a major commitment, and with interest rates being as high as they are, may not necessarily be the smartest move to make. But there are situations where it could work in your favor, depending on what you need to do. Certainly, one of those measure twice, cut once situations. If we're talking about taking on a substantial a loan like a mortgage, the team at America's Retirement Headquarters, they can help you weigh the pros and cons, figure out how to make that work in your favor. Again, just pick up the phone, give a call, 419-794-3030.